And you're live.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to this North West Planning meeting today, 10th of September 2025. My name's Councillor Maddie Thompson. I'm the Vice Chairman of this committee. Members, we're streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting, you're giving your consent to being recorded. During each item, please put your hand up to indicate if you wish to speak. I will then invite you at the appropriate time. Please note that the YouTube live stream sound recording is dependent on the correct use of microphones. Therefore, can I ask that when invited to speak, you remember to turn on your microphone and turn it off when finished. Please reference the page or paragraph number when referring to the agenda papers and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. We do not have any fire alarm testing scheduled. If you hear the alarm, please exit using either of the two marked fire escape routes. Once out of the building, please proceed to the designated muster point located on the grass verge by the police station entrance. Members, may I draw your attention to the members' update with further information on item 6 on the agenda. Item 2 is apologies for absence. Mr. Bowles, please.
Thank you, Chair. We have received apologies for absence from Councillors Durham, Morgan, Siddle and Whiffen.
And Councillor White, could we add to that?
Yes, Councillor White.
Right, that's all of us then, thanks. All of us accounted for. Item 3 is minutes. Oh, sorry.
I didn't catch it. Was Councillor Siddle's name?
Yes, it was. Thanks, Councillor Stevens. Item 3 is the minutes. It's recommended that the minutes of the meeting held on 18th of June, found on pages 7 to 14, are approved as a true and accurate record. I'm going to take them as read, and I so propose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Morley, thank you. Are there any matters of accuracy, anyone? So can I take those agreed by assent? Thank you. Item 4 is declarations of interest, to disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests relating to items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of the Code of Conduct for members. Members are also reminded they're required to disclose any such interests as soon as they become aware, should the need arise through the meeting. Any declarations of interest, members? No. Okay, so we move to item 5. That's our first planning application, former Valentines, Cottage, Purleigh. So we have a presentation by Ms Sadler, followed by, actually nobody, us, members. Sorry, Ms Sadler, away you go.
Thank you, Chair. Let me just scroll. This application seeks permission for the retention of the original dwelling building as an annex, not in compliance with condition 3 of approved planning permission 0400516/FUL. So the first slide just shows the details of the condition that was imposed on the 2004 application, stating that it would need to be demolished. This is the block plan. It's set out, so the hatched area is the dwelling to be retained. There's the new dwelling, which was the permission that required the other dwelling to be demolished, and there's an annex attached to the new dwelling, which was part of the planning permission in 2013. And this is a view of the site on Google Maps with the same labelling. These are the elevations of the dwelling to be retained. This is the floor plans of the dwelling. This is the floor plans of the replacement dwelling, which was approved under the 2004 application, and the floor plans of the attached annex, which was approved in 2013. There's some extracts. So previous to this application, there were two submitted applications. There was one in early 2023, which was refused by the council and was dismissed at appeal. There was a subsequent application that was submitted, which the council declined to determine. At the time the application was submitted, the original application was still in the timeframe for an appeal to be lodged, although there was a slight amendment on the middle application. It wasn't enough that would make a material change to the application. The appeal documents are from the first submitted, where the application was to be retained as a dwelling, not as an annex. Some more extracts from the appeal decision. This is a photo of the front of the application site, so that the dwelling that has the scaffolding round is the dwelling to be retained. This is just a picture of the rear. So the application is recommended for refusal. The dwelling would not be considered to form ancillary accommodation to the new Valentines cottage, and the proposed amendment would appear as an incongruous addition and would intensify the residential development of the site and eroding the intrinsic beauty and character of the open countryside, and has not allowed for an orderly redevelopment of the site. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there are no public speakers, so members. Councillor Morley?
Yeah, could you put up the slide, please, of the existing dwelling and the proposed retention of the, trying to see.
This one?
Okay, so, oh, okay, the exist, I see what you mean. So would it be overlooked with the other property just to the right there a bit, would it? I can't quite make out.
What is the dwelling next to the house
Yes.
area? So that's the dwelling that's attached to, so it wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no change. There's no change to the
No.
footprint of the dwelling that's there. It's just for the retention of it. So there are no additional windows or openings proposed.
Okay.
It's not been enlarged in any way.
Thank you.
But,
Councillor,
yeah,
Mr.
sorry,
Johnson,
yeah, just on that point, because in
could you use your microphone, please?
Oh, sorry.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, in an appeal last year, that the inspector considered the issue of overlooking a potential loss of privacy between the existing dwelling that's attached to the other one on the right hand side there, where it says dwelling to be retained as an annex, yeah, and the new dwellings. Now there's a distance of about 12 meters, yeah, for which there could be overlooking and loss of privacy. If the inspector was minded to approve that appeal, which he didn't, yeah, then either one of the dwellings could be subject to a condition for obscured glazing, yeah. So there is a potential for there to be overlooking and a loss of privacy, but because it's within the same curtilage, it could be a case that, for example, if this were to be supported, a condition to ensure that there isn't that loss of privacy, because the other affected dwelling would still have outlook, yeah, which is not obstructed. So there is that issue to consider when we're considering the relationship between the two dwellings.
Is there a height issue? Sorry, through you, Chair. Is there a height issue as well? If I remember rightly from a garage from a previous.
Yeah, you mean in terms of any overbearing impact or anything? I don't think that's the case. Is that, Hayley? If you want to clarify that.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that was not raised in any previous appeal of it being over dominant or anything.
Thanks. Councillor Hughes?
Hello, yeah, Mr. Johnson, I think you've just answered the question. The distance between the existing annex and the new annex, about 12 metres, so less than 50 metres, which I thought was normally okay.
Yeah, I mean, the proposal concerns dwellings within the same curtilage, yeah, and there is an understanding that within the application it's to be retained within the family in its wider sense, yeah. In those relationships, things can be considered acceptable. Were that not to be the case, then 12 metres would be an unacceptable relationship if there were dwellings in separate ownerships. But this is a case where the existing and the proposal are within the same red line.
Right, but ultimately this has the capacity and the facilities to be a separate dwelling.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
I think that's some of the issues which obviously has been raised in the officer's report.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Stevens. Oh, sorry, come back in a minute. Okay, Councillor Hughes.
So could we not make a condition that it couldn't be used as a separate dwelling if it is generally for family members?
You can condition it, but you can't stop someone coming back with another application later to make it separate. Am I right, Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, we can't stop people coming back with applications, yeah? No. It's just what we do with the application when we get it. I mean, obviously, any condition has to pass the legal test and has to be reasonable in planning terms, etc., and has to serve a planning purpose. I mean, it could be the case that in a situation where a development has been proposed and the relationship is meant to be contiguous between, you know, the occupants, but then that was severed, yeah, and then it then created a separate issue which in planning terms would be unacceptable. One of which, as we know in considering schemes, is the relationship between dwellings, issues of overlooking and loss of privacy and those sorts of things, yeah? They could be created. So maybe in that context, a condition might be reasonable in terms of, you know, should there be an intention to want to sever that relationship between the two buildings? That's where that might come into consideration. Don't know if the case officer or my colleague has any further comments on that point?
All I would say is when we're assessing applications and finding them acceptable under the annex policy, is we would seek to condition them to be tied to the host dwelling. So if you were minded to approve that, that would be a fairly standard condition that we would use to ensure it is retained. If they subsequently come back, then, as Mr. Johnson says, that's a matter for consideration later in the day.
Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Chair. Oh, I spent such a long time reviewing this, and I can completely see if you've got somebody in the family with some difficulties, why you would want to do this. But it just doesn't stack up to me. I mean, the idea of screwing the front door shut was you'll just unscrew it again, won't you, as soon as the inspectors have gone home. That doesn't feel permanent enough, really, to me. That's sort of paying lip service to it. It isn't an annex. It isn't subservient to the main dwelling. It doesn't have that link to the main dwelling. It's also very incongruous with the semi that it's attached to. I don't know if you could put that picture back up again with the one it's attached to. It was never intended that those two properties would survive as attached dwellings. I think they look really weird next to each other. That isn't good design. They just look at odds with each other. And the application, it does talk about medical records being provided on request for another member of the family, but there's no offer to provide any medical or similar sorts of records for the grandson for whom this annex is intended. I have huge sympathies with somebody who has learning difficulties, but that's a very wide explanation. That isn't a learning disability registered with a medical record to support it, and without any evidence I don't see how we could find that the person's difficulties are substantial enough to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have a proposal for me? Otherwise, from the chair, Councillor Stevens.
I propose that we go along with the officer's recommendation to refuse.
Is that seconded? Seconded. So we have a proposal. Does any member have anything further to say? So we have a proposal to go with the officer's recommendation to approve. Those in favour, please. Refuse, sorry, refuse. To refuse. I beg your pardon. It's almost as bad as not being able to count. Those in favour of the recommendation to refuse, please show. That's unanimous, so that application is refused in line with the officer's recommendation. So now we have item 6, for which there is a members' update, and we do have 2 speakers. So this is land rear of the Green Man, Little Braxted. So if we have the presentation for that, then we'll have our public speakers.
Committee clerk be able to close the existing presentation down and open the next one. Can't seem to get far enough down, the mouse is not liking it. Yeah, thank you.
So quick.
Thank you.
Okay, are you ready?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. This is an application for the erection of a detached 5-bedroom dwelling at land rear of the Green Man and Green Man Lane in Little Braxted. The site is to the rear of the Green Man public house, which is shown in this land in blue here, which is a Grade 2 listed building and is within the same ownership as the application site. To the north of the site is a cluster of dwellings in this location here, and the Green Man Cottage to the northwest of the site is also Grade 2 listed. Access to the site is via Green Man Lane along this accessway here. Looking at the block plan, it shows the location of the dwelling on the site here. It would be over 21 metres from the northwestern boundary of the site, so running along this location here, with the nearest residential properties being to the north here. It's 11.2 metres from the western boundary and about 4.5 metres from the eastern boundary. The Anglian water pumping station that's referred to in the report is located to the northeast in this location here, so between the Green Man public house and the application site. Anglian Water asked for a condition to be imposed restricting sensitive development, i.e. a dwelling house, to no less than 15 metres from the pumping station. As the proposed dwelling is over 21 metres from the pumping station, such a condition is not considered necessary and therefore would not meet the tests of the MPPF. And that's because we would have condition 2 attached to a planning decision which sets out that it needs to be erected in accordance with the approved plans. Just running through the elevation, so this is the front elevation of the dwelling and the remaining 3 elevations. The floor plans show living accommodation at ground floor level and 5 bedrooms and also bathrooms on the first floor. And this is a roof plan with roughly an H-shaped dwelling. As mentioned in the submitted supporting information and also the officer report, Kelvedon Road forms part of the Sustrans National Cycle Network, and that's this green dotted line running north to south here, and that's route number 16. It joins on here with Beacon Hill, which forms part of route 1 of that cycle network. So this links the site up here in Green Man Lane with Wickham Bishops to the south and also across to Great Totham. And it's on that basis that in the report we've considered that the site can be accessible by bike and therefore offers a choice of transport options. However, the site's much more limited in terms of pedestrian access, and that's also set out in the report. But it's considered that on balance, the proposal does provide a genuine, albeit limited, choice of transport mode in accordance with paragraph 110 of the MPPF. That's the difference really between this application and the previous application, as that consideration of that cycle network. So just running through some photographs of the site. So this is on the application site, approximately where the dwelling would be, looking towards the north to the rear of the neighbouring dwellings there, and also towards the site access in between the trees here. And this location here is where the pumping station is. That's on site looking northwest, and looking in the opposite direction, northeast, and again towards the rear of the public house here and rear of the neighbouring property in this location. There is an existing ditch on site which would require works through this planning application. So this is standing on the access looking into the site here, so that the dwelling would be located approximately in this location, and then this is in a similar position on the access, again looking towards the Anglian Water pumping station over on this side. So as set out in the report, the site is located outside any defined settlement boundary, so as in the countryside. The previous application was refused by this committee in January, as the application was not considered to be in a sustainable location. The further information submitted with the application has been considered, and although pedestrian access remains limited, it is considered there is a choice of transport mode, and it's on that basis that it's an on-balance recommendation for approval, subject to the submitted unilateral undertaking and also conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. So our public speakers, right, first we have the agent, Ms. Quinn. Would you like to come forward? Pick a chair. I'm sure you know the rules, but I'll tell you anyway. You have 2 minutes precisely from when you start to speak, so please make yourself comfortable and begin when you're ready.
Good evening, everyone. This application is for one detached dwelling to the rear of the Green Man Inn. The design of the dwelling is rural and is in keeping with the grain and style of development here. Members may recall a similar application in January which was recommended for refusal and refused on the sole basis it was felt the applicant had not demonstrated that the site was sustainably located. The application now before councillors has been supplemented by a transport statement, an amended planning support statement and a solicitor's letter providing additional information in support of the sustainability of the site. On this basis, due particularly to the location of the site adjacent to the Sustrans cycle network and the bus stops on Kelvedon Road, the officer considers there is a choice of transport modes, and along with access to services at Wickham Bishops, that it now has been demonstrated that the site is sustainable. Comparable examples close by referred to in the application and previously determined as sustainable by the council are also referred to by the officer in her report. In response to comments on access to and past the Anglian Water compound, Anglian Water have not objected to the scheme on this matter subject to conditions. However, the site can accommodate a wider access, passing or parking spaces via condition if this would be considered helpful. In conclusion, the site is sustainably located and the proposal would be acceptable with regard to setting and design, landscape, highways, neighbouring amenity, drainage, ecology and biodiversity, with no adverse effects that would significantly and demonstrably outweigh the benefits. Councillors are therefore requested to support the officer's recommendation and approve planning permission. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Mr. Kyan, please. That's okay. Same for you, Mr. Kyan. You have 2 minutes from when you begin to speak. Thank you.
The Anglian Water pumping station causes a significant obstruction to the access of the proposed new build development site, which has a singularly unique aspect being adjacent to an Anglian Water sewage pumping station. This public utility requires a significant level of attendance for maintenance and upkeep. The Assistant Director's report 510.1 erroneously dismisses this real obstruction, implying wrongly that the obstruction is to the pumping station. The obstruction is caused by Anglian water to and from the proposed development site. Consequently, Section 581 demonstrably overlooks this unsustainable situation. These obstructions do have adverse impacts that do not outweigh the benefits. I have submitted 60 photos covering 10 months of Anglian water attendance, which show the nature of these obstructions. The consequences of when Anglian water vehicles are present are twofold. Firstly, inhabitants of the proposed development would not have the freedom to leave their premises at will, certainly by car. Secondly, visitors arriving via Green Man Lane will not be able to access the development site and will become displaced traffic, affecting the freedom of movement of existing residents and push vehicles to be parked in a road where there's fast moving traffic. The highways concerns, the surrounding rural road network traffic risks are exposed on the submitted video that I provided. Section 5119 concurs the serious challenge on pedestrian movement safety does exist. The nearest bus stop, 500 metres away, therefore presents walking risks. 30-mile-an-hour traffic movement can cause a serious injury. 6 cars speeding down past Green Man Lane in the 45-minute period last month shows this. This is a significant safety concern for regular walking necessary for sustainable bus use. Particular difficulties in winter, no lighting, short winter daylight hours, ice and rain. So the reasons presented here and in my submission, I duly request...
Sorry, I have to stop you there.
You refuse.
Yeah, thank you. So, members. Councillor Morley.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, since I remember this application came in last time, and it's really interesting with the cycle route. That's obviously an up-and-coming thing which can be used. As regards the pumping station, I've lived next door to one for 50 years, and you learn to live with it, and I don't find it a problem. I find the only issue in Wycombe Bishops, in a broader sense, as regards walking, is that all the bollards outside every single grass verge, and they don't own those verges, I'm sure. And at night time, how on earth no one's had an accident with those anyway? But I digress. But yeah, the cycle route, and you can use a Brompton bike, get on a bus then if you want. So I like the design as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, can I just ask a couple of questions first, sort of technicalities? So are we allowed to add reasons for refusal if we went that way, that we didn't have last time? And should we be considering all aspects of sustainability and not just the transport aspect? And then I've got another thing, but I'd just like to understand those two first, please.
Braxted.
Adding reasons for refusal, we would need to ensure that we were acting reasonably. So if the information was available to us last time and that wasn't included as a reason for refusal, for example, the Anglian water pumping station site wasn't considered an issue last time, wasn't listed as a reason for refusal. Therefore, we would be going into territory that could be considered unreasonable if we were to go down that route. In terms of sustainability, yes, we should be considering all of it. I've probably only focused in my report predominantly, I'm afraid, on the accessibility side of things, but there are no objections in terms of environmental harm, in terms of ecology or design and character and appearance and that sort of thing. So from the other sustainability, I can't remember the word for it, the economy side, yeah, I've totally lost my train of thought in terms of the other sides of sustainability are considered to be acceptable. Last time it was purely in regard to accessibility.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we really can only look at this sudden materialisation of this cycle route. So is this cycle route on the main road or cross country? Because if it's on the main road, aren't we making it a less useful route by adding housing, because then there'll be more cars? Or if it's cross country, I just wonder how useful it actually is for normal things like commuting and shopping and those sorts of things, or if it's just for recreational activity. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The cycle route comes down Kelvedon Road, so I wouldn't consider it necessarily a main road. It is still a country road. I think the consideration this time round that we didn't look into last time is the fact that it is a national cycle, part of a national cycle network, and on that basis it must be considered acceptable for cyclists to use. Whether or not people would use it for going to the shops and that sort of thing, I don't know, but in terms of the MPPF, what we need to look at is that there is a genuine choice of transport. The fact that it's on a national highway route indicates, from an officer perspective, that there is a genuine choice of transport for cyclists, as well as use by car. So that's where we've come from in the officer report.
Come back, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that clarifies it. I think I can see where this is going, but I just think we look a bit silly that we're looking at this massive house that's going to have, 6 people perhaps living in it, and they're all going to go everywhere on their bike, and we're going to believe that, because I don't believe that at all. But I can see why policy might say that that's the way we've got to go. Thank you.
Does anyone have a proposal for me?
Yeah, I propose that we accept this application. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you. So we have a proposal to agree the officer's recommendation to approve this time. Anyone have anything else to say? In that case, those in favour of the officer recommendation to approve? So no one against, no abstentions, so that is approved in line with the officer's recommendation. So we move on to item 7, and you'll be pleased to hear there are no items of urgent business. So with thanks to officers and members of the public, I close the meeting at 8 o'clock. Thank you very much.